Okay, we've known that you've been working on Guild Wars 2 for a while now. Well, we've seen concept art before. What took you so long to actually formally announce it?
Well, we formally announced it about 2 years ago, and what we wanted to do is make it clear to our fans, who are obviously very avid Guild Wars players, why we wouldn't be producing any more expansions or campaigns. So we made the decision, all right, we're going into Guild Wars 2 development now, we need to let our fans know what's going on. But we also knew that our fans have very high expectations, so we waited 2 years until we knew the engine was at a place that we could really show something we were proud of.
How have you brought the Guild Wars experience to a modern MMO standard?
Well, obviously, when we created Guild Wars, just a little over 4 years ago, we were going to try a bunch of things that really was a bit of a departure from other MMOs that we were seeing on the market. One of these was action-oriented combat. Secondly was an anti-grind philosophy. Thirdly was we wanted low time commitment, be able to get in and get out, with a small amount of time, not have to spend hours and hours playing the game. And also the ability to play the game the way you want, whether it's solo or in a group with henchmen, that kind of thing. And that's really what we are taking with us as a core philosophy into Guild Wars 2. You'll see us take that philosophy and extend it in ways that players have never seen before, but we remain true to our vision of providing a game that really defies a lot of the preconceived notions of other MMOs.
Can you give a solid example of what you're talking about?
I'd like to. Right now we're only talking about lore, but for example, we are adding persistence to the game. That's a big thing that players have asked us about, and that will provide a lot of the social dynamics. But one of the things that we will be doing with the persistence is extending gameplay in new ways that we don't think have been seen with other MMOs. One is our dynamic event system. I'm not ready to go into a lot of detail about it yet, but trust me when we say that it's going to be one of the things that makes leveling up in Guild Wars a lot of fun. It's the ability to go out into this great expansive world and really explore and discover things and not be on a linear quest path, but really find events occurring in the world that are changing, that are unpredictable, that give you great group gameplay that has not been seen before.
Sounds a bit like public quests from Warhammer.
I would say that public quests were an interesting first attempt at this, but it would not be fair to say that our dynamic event system is going to be limited in the same way.
All right. So the instances, the personal instances that Guild Wars more or less consisted of are gone?
No, what we're taking a lot of the things that we learned about instancing, especially like how to provide very tight storytelling and scripted events, and extending them even more. So we will still have those events. In fact, storytelling will be a very big part of Guild Wars 2. But at the same time, we want to provide lots of gameplay options to other types of players.
But the focus of the old Guild Wars was more or less PvP. You had a lot of PvP options, including the one that's starting a level 20 character from the beginning just for PvP. Will that be as big a part of Guild Wars 2 as it is in Guild Wars 1?
I would say that there's going to be a balance. It turns out that a lot of people play Guild Wars in PvE mode. I would actually say there's a fairly large majority. That doesn't mean PvP isn't important to us. PvP players are some of our most rabid, active, and outspoken players. But I would say that in Guild Wars 2, you're going to see a really good balance. We don't feel that you have to choose. With Guild Wars 2, you're not going to have to choose between either PvE or PvP. We really want to provide a seamless, continuous experience that provides a great PvE experience. Then there's kind of like a more casual PvP experience that players of all skill levels will be able to play. And then finally, at the high end, if you're so inclined, you can go play esport level competitive PvP. The business model for Guild Wars 2 is the same as for Guild Wars 1. You buy the game, you play online for as long as you want, no subscription. There's going to be the same kind of microtransactions that were in Guild Wars 1. We have them in Guild Wars, and they will continue in Guild Wars 2.
One thing that we've seen in the MMO genre over the last couple of years has been that sequels to very successful MMOs, for example, EverQuest 2 was never as great a success as so we hoped. We have Asheron's Call 2 that was actually cancelled. How does it feel to be releasing Guild Wars 2 when you've sold like 6 million boxes of Guild Wars 1?
Guild Wars 1 was incredibly successful. We did 4 products. We've sold over 6 million copies. But we are also looking at the game and seeing that the technology and what we can do with the game has advanced. So the idea is to evolve the game further. It's called Guild Wars 2, but we also want to really make it a game accessible for new players, for players who did not play Guild Wars 1, in addition to players who enjoyed the original Guild Wars.
So what, for you, what was a core thing from Guild Wars that you wanted to evolve into Guild Wars 2?
Well, I think it's a natural evolution. I think that the stories we came out of Nightfall, Eye of the North, led us to what the story we want to tell in Guild Wars 2. We decided because our mechanics will be different, they will, evolve, so too the world should evolve. So we've set it 250 years after the events of the last of the Guild Wars games. And what has happened in these 250 years is the dragons have awoken. They've always been there. They've always been a part of Tyria. We go back and say, oh yes, that has an effect here, this has an effect there. And basically it becomes part of a complete tapestry that tells the story of Tyria and tells the story of Guild Wars. Right now, when we are doing the work, we're looking in Tyria primarily. We refer to legacy sites, where on this site, this was where a particular, Rin was, but now it's a Char encampment. Let's play with that. How does that bring more to our story? How does that make it feel like a deeper, more meaningful world? As we go through the game, we'll probably encounter more places that we've already been, but for right now, we're concentrating on Tyria. 5 playable races. Humans, Char, Sylvari, Norn, and Asura. Each has their own coolness to them. Each has their own story behind them. 4 of these we have seen previously in Eye of the North, and the 5th, the Sylvari, have just woken up. At the end of the Eye of the North, we show a tree that is starting to grow. The Sylvari are plant-like humanoids that come from this tree.
So you can play as a Char?
You can play as a Char.
They kind of ruined everything in the first Guild War.
And that became part of our story as well. And the idea that, basically how do the Char become a good race? And what we looked at is the Char were a race that was very religious and dominated by a shaman class. What we did was, what the story became is, those Char in Eye of the North, those Char were, a revolution was started. And we see the results of that revolution, which is not only that the Char are more militarily advanced than any other race on the planet, but also you see a lot more of the female Char now, which you never saw in the original games. Again, we just carry the story through and see where it takes us.
As long as you can play as an Asura. I've loved them since the Asura. Yeah. I was in love with them from the first moment I saw one. Yes, I like small races with big ears, but they are amazing.
The Asura are near and dear to my heart. I'm an engineer by training, and they're very much into this. They are brilliant, they are intelligent, they are completely insufferable, and they get away with saying things that nobody else could say, Do
you have any idea when we will at least start seeing rumors about closed and open betas?
Nothing that I can reveal at this time. But we have the design work on Guild Wars 2 began working on Eye of the North, and that's why there's an easy flow of the story from one to the next. It is all hooked together, and it is going to be a story that will both reward players who have been fans of Guild Wars forever and ones who basically want to enter the world of Guild Wars for the first time.